The San Jose Sharks held their annual prospect scrimmage, and the vibes are currently off the charts.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Western Conference Tuesdays on the Locked On NHL Network. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And the San Jose Sharks had their annual prospect scrimmage. And folks, the Sharks are going to be an absolute monster one day. The vibes right now off the charts in San Jose as Macklin Celebrini makes his debut in teal. Will Smith and Quentin Musty just paired them together for the next 1,000 years. And we're going to have some other, conversations and kind of bounce around just some observations from this game and just seeing some of the prospects and all that. But before we get to all that, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, before we get to Celebrini and everything, I think we have to talk about just the buzz and attention and just like the good vibes. Sharks are on their way to being back. Actually, they're here right now. And it's because it's also the middle of July or beginning of July, and the Sharks aren't playing anyone right now, but there's an energy to this franchise right now with Celebrini kind of taking it to the next level. And going to Texas Arena to cover this game, didn't know what to expect, and that Texas U was jumping. Anytime Celebrini did anything, even just having his name announced, it was very WWE pop, just like the crowd going crazy. And there was like a hush whenever he touched the puck with an ooh and an ah. Guys, this is the time to get in on the Sharks because this team is not this year, not next year. Who knows when? But in the next couple seasons, this team is going to be an absolute just tank, destroying people. Much like watching Patrick Marleau with Danny Heatley and Joe Thornton and those teams that just kind of came out and just destroyed people. This Sharks team is well on its way to being one of those types of teams that just every time it touches the ice, it is going to just be an absolute menace to other teams. But Texas Arena today was just an absolute. You could just feel the energy being there and what Celebrini is going to help do to this franchise and kind of be that crown jewel on what Mike Grier has been building and what we as Sharks fans have kind of, been waiting to see and behind the hush doors of like, man, wait till we're good again. Today was a little bit of like a sneak preview of what is going to happen when this team is good again. I, for one, will be absolutely obnoxious on this podcast, and I hope you join me when the Sharks are good again and we get to just be obnoxious. That obnoxious fan, that's going to be us here soon. So we're going to, though, kind of, spend the rest of this podcast overreacting to things, and just keep in mind, right, this is a 4-on-4 / 3-on-3 exhibition between 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, like a bunch of kids, right? So if your favorite prospect didn't do what you wanted them to do, that's fine, right? It's okay. It's a prospect scrimmage that is set up for the forwards to look really good, the defense to struggle, and the goalies to just be left out to dry. So don't read into everything too much. But if your favorite prospect did well, now's the time to further push your agenda. And that's what we're going to do here. So we have to start with Celebrini, who out of kind of as we dig through all these guys, but Celebrini, who a little bit slow, I think, to get things going. And there's probably a little bit of nerves there and stuff, but by the end, as Team White was making their comeback here, and he showed those metrics, or he showed why he's such an intriguing player, and the way he can control pace and the way he can open up space. And it's just something to watch, where he can have a guy on him and then all of a sudden he just makes a little move, kind of a little dangle, or he just slows, he kind of stops. And then all of a sudden he just has as much space as he wants to work with, and his ability to find open guys. Great pass to Kasper Halttunen, who on the goal to make it 7-6. And Halttunen, good luck stopping that, any goaltender. I don't care what level you're in. Good luck stopping that one-timer from Halttunen. But Celebrini's ability to kind of make space, play with pace, which is something we have seen in watching Celebrini at Boston University. He can speed it up, he can slow it down, he can do whatever. He has this innate sense of space and timing around him. And watching it in person is something to behold. Once, as a Sharks fan, you need to make it a point to go see Celebrini live and watch him when he has the puck and watch him when he doesn't have the puck, because his ability, again, it's something you can't teach, of just feeling out where to kind of go, where everyone is. It's just this hockey IQ that it's on another level of kind of just watching him, where he goes, where he doesn't go, right? And then how he can just all of a sudden turn it on and find this other gear. And yeah, you saw flashes of it in this game, right? And again, there's a lot of space to work with when you're playing 4-on-4 and 3-on-3. But his ability to just create space is something to behold, and that's going to be a trait that's, I'm curious to see how he utilizes that in the NHL, because that's the NHL, right? Is how do you create and manipulate space for yourself and for your teammates, to put them in a position and put yourself in a position to score or get scoring chances. And Celebrini's ability to do that, he's pretty good at it. He's pretty good at manipulating space. So other kind of Celebrini takeaways here. We'll kind of finish up with Celebrini here in the first segment before we talk about Smith and Musty and kind of other observations. But talking to him, got him for the press availability. The way he talks and handles himself, it's like he's not a normal 18-year-old kid. And everybody you talk to about him, just the way he handles himself and the way he is prepared for this moment and to be this guy. And, it's a lot of expectations, right? And we all know with these kind of generational or, these potential superstar players where they're picked from a young age, like you kind of can tell from a young age as they grow but he's just a different dude, man. The way he just handles himself and handles his business and how comfortable he is in front of the media with everything going on, it just doesn't bother him. He was up there willing to talk to us about, anything and everything. And he handles himself just, again, this kid was just at the center of attention in Vegas, at the Sphere, with the entire world watching him get picked number one, cameras following him around, and the hanging question of won't you sign your contract, and the entire weight of a franchise on an 18-year-old kid's shoulders. And doesn't bother him, man. He's ready to go. This kid just wants to play hockey. get better at it and try to be the best version of himself. And yeah, he's going to be playing in the NHL like I have this season. I have no doubt about that right now. That's all we're waiting for right now, is just him to officially sign his contract, because he's too good, he's too smart, and he's been training for this moment for his entire life, and I think he's ready to greet those expectations and somehow succeed in those expectations. And yeah, the kid's good, man. We as Sharks fans are going to be blessed to have Celebrini in our lives for the next 15 to 20 years. So hopefully, but we're going to talk about Will Smith, Quentin Musty, some of the other guys who stood out, the big boys that the Sharks have put together here, and some of my other standouts. So we'll get to that here in just 1 minute. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and leveled up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With the eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right. Other than Celebrini, I think the biggest story has to be Will Smith and Quentin Musty. And Will Smith, I thought, was like, again, 4-4 3-on-3 hockey, where Will Smith's skills are going to shine. Will Smith was the best player on the ice today. The way he, like, watching him in college, right, where he kind of slowed things down, very much pushing the pace today. And him and Quentin Musty just staple them together for the next like 15 years, because those guys, right, I've talked about it before, right? If you want to try to emulate what made Will Smith so successful at Boston, kind of coming up through the draft to the United States national team and then at Boston College, trying to emulate those types of players, Quentin Musty is not that bad of a Ryan Leonard impression. Like, is he going to be Ryan Leonard? No. Like, Ryan Leonard, I think, is a little bit more physical player. But can Quentin Musty get pretty close? Yeah, I think so. And those two guys just have like already a sixth sense about, and the way they fed off each other. I mean, look at that very first goal, like 20 seconds of the game. Will Smith wins a board battle, something that we heard plenty of complaints about by people throughout the season at Boston College. And again, this is very much overreactions to a prospect game. Wins a board battle. Great, makes a beautiful pass over to Quentin Musty, who's just wide open, and Musty is not going to miss that. Musty and Smith later, basically a 2-on-0, and just Musty kind of feels that Smith's behind him, pushes it out to the outside, lets Smith kind of stay on the inside. Easy 2-on-0 tap in goal for Will Smith. Even like Will Smith's just, those hands, man, are there's a reason why some folks are calling him Wet Willie. But yeah, I think he's never going to admit it, but I think there's a little chip on his shoulder with Celebrini. And these two guys have played against each other for a long time. They've kind of grown up together, kind of going through the same, like especially all these high-end hockey players, right? Each other. But I think there's like just a tad bit of a little chip on Smith. They're like, Celebrini's good, but I'm not half bad either. And I think he wanted to kind of go out there and prove it that, he's not half bad either. And we may not be talking about Will Smith enough just because of we're like with Celebrini, it's very much like going into like, okay, here's what he's going to do in the NHL. And Will Smith is very much like, yeah, but can he when he is coming to the NHL? Will Smith's a fabulous hockey player who's going to do a lot of positive things. And you saw part of that today. And yes, there's questions. There's going to be questions for Celebrini, and there's questions for every prospect who comes through, right? But Will Smith's showing like, you know what? I might be pretty good at this. There's a reason why I was the 4th overall pick in one of the best draft classes that we've, going into it, at least one of the best draft classes we've seen in a long time, in that 2023 draft, right? I think Smith, he's worked hard to try to add muscle. I think they said he's added 8 to 10 pounds of muscle this off season, and he's got the next 2 months to kind of continue to add more muscle to get ready for training camp. And I think he's ready to prove a lot of doubters and people wrong about him maybe going back to Boston College, or he was propped up by his line mates. Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of picturing him on the wing. Like, don't be surprised if Smith is playing center for the Sharks this season sooner than you expect. I still think he's going to start on the wing as he gets used to it. And he talks about how his ability to play the wing, it's much easier for him. It's easier for players to go from center to wing than wing to center, as we saw with William Eklund, who grew up as a center, but has played wing the last couple seasons. And, I think struggled. I think he would admit that he, maybe overthought it and struggled. But with Smith and how much he has played center his entire career, but don't be surprised if he's playing, maybe starts the season at wing, but he's going to be playing center quicker than you realize, because he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder right now. So Quentin Musty too, also just absolutely looks like a monster ready to just destroy things. It's kind of stinks that he has to go back to the OHL, because I think he's too good to be playing in the OHL. He's just unfortunate, kind of the circumstances of the CHL NHL agreement, where again, since he's not, he has to play in the NHL or has to play in the OHL. And because I don't think he's going to make the NHL, probably plays 9 games in the NHL before going back to the OHL. But yeah, I think he is going to rampage the OHL, probably put up like 140 points in 50 games or some ridiculous number like that, and have a really, really nice World Juniors as well. So, and then be ready to go play in the AHL next year. But he just looks like, even like his interview, he's all business. He is ready to, I think, show why, again, maybe a little bit of that chip of him sliding in the first round to number 26. And I still think Mike Greer, every night before he goes to bed, just chuckles to himself that he got Quentin Musty at 26 overall, and is going to have Will Smith, Quentin Musty, Macklin Celebrini just rampaging here very, very soon together. So I was that those two just instant chemistry, and I cannot wait to see what happens when you put like a William Eklund with them, or like somebody who's within the same passing skill like Eklund to kind of complete the line. It's going to be really fun, guys. The vibes are off the vibes per 60 are just off the charts right now with the Sharks prospects pool. And guess what? We deserve it. We deserve nice things after what we've gone through the past couple of seasons. So we'll talk about some of the other kind of guys who stood out, including Eric Pohlkamp. We'll talk about Kasper Halttunen. Just some of the other guys who I thought really, really stood out here in just 1 second. All right, we'll just kind of bounce around here. One of the big things I noticed was just how big this team has gotten very, very quickly. Watching, the prospect scrimmage, and Mike Greer has made it a point to not only draft big guys, but draft big, skilled guys, because the Sharks that's kind of what they're building towards right now, is just big skilled players. You look at Kasper. I mean, I know Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini are both 6 foot. But Musty, is like 6'2". Halttunen, who's I think 6'2", 6'3". Dickinson, who's 6'3". Mukmadulin, who's 6'4". Like, they've just added a lot of big dudes. And going to the prospect game, when did I think I went like 2018 and 2019, when Merkley was there, to now. Yeah, it's a different thing right now. Just kind of what they've been able to put together. So yeah, it's very interesting on just how much they've revamped this thing really quickly. So but yeah, I think Kasper Halttunen showed a lot today. That shot, of course, is ridiculous. We've talked about that shot a bajillion times. Even I asked Macklin Celebrini about that shot, and he was just like, oh geez, like that thing is, he called it a special gift on a special player. And Halton's got some work he's going to need to do, and I think we'll dive into that more as the summer kind of wears on. But yeah, he's got a couple issues he's got to fix, to kind of iron out, but he looks to be the real deal, and especially that shot is going to carry him a long way. Some other guys who I kind of wanted to shout out, Eric Pohlkamp, I thought was the best defenseman on the ice. I was surprised by the speed of Pohlkamp. Like, he would get the puck and just quickly, just boom, just go. And again, 4-on-4, 3-on-3, you're going to have more ice time and more, but his foot speed and just how quickly he can kind of get from A to B, really, like, kind of is my first time watching him in person. Really, I thought what was a huge highlight and standout from him. And he also was part of the media availability, especially with the way he played today. He said he wants to do 1 year at Denver and try to go pro. And if he keeps kind of the acceleration in the course that he's on, I don't see why he won't be going pro, because he mentioned, like, I want to become a better two-way defender and playing defense. That's something that he needs to do. And you saw a lot of good defense from him at Bemidji State, and he's going to take a big step up here playing at University of Denver. But Pohlkamp looks like a really nice treat for the Sharks as an overager in the mid rounds from last year's draft. And would not be surprised if next year he is on the San Jose Barracuda, because the dude can just flat out play. Like, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he plays way bigger than he isn't afraid to mix it up. And yeah, there's just something about him. So also Leo Salin Walinas, who the Sharks drafted, I thought showed some I thought he played really nicely as well. And there's some issues that, defensively, again, none of the defenders this is not set up to have defenders look good as you're having to kind of play 3-on-3 and 4-on-4. But the way he covered ground, I was really kind of intrigued by that. I thought he played pretty well there. And again, bit of a project's going to take a couple years, but just nice to kind of see something out of him. Weird to see him wearing 65. Also, Svoboda was wearing 88, and then Pohlkamp was wearing 48. Just a little shocking to see these guys wearing these numbers, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So Dickinson, I thought, had a bit of an up and down game, which, again, right, not everyone's going to shine to defense. Thought he made a really nice play on a 2-on-1, and thought he could have been a little bit more aggressive in some areas, and maybe, I don't want to say, he just kind of hesitated, I thought, in some areas, and made some, but it's fine. Like, again, we're not going to, this part, we're not going to overreact, as we said before. One guy who I was really impressed with was Gavin O'Connell, who I'm not going to lie, I had not really heard much of him beforehand. But I thought, played really, really well and had a goal. But like every time he was on the ice, he just kind of made plays and did stuff. And I'm kind of just want to kind of see how he does. So Connolly, he is at Michigan. He played at Michigan State. I think he was a tryout this year to kind of see, just try out, see how he's doing, kind of keep him in the back of your mind. But he's 20 years old, right wing, 181-pound forward. He was 6 foot, but just amateur tryout there. Just kind of keep an eye on him if he has a nice season. If the Sharks maybe try to sign him to a deal at some point. But just every time he was on the ice, you noticed him doing positive and good things. So I really liked what I saw from him. So last year he had 15 goals, 11 assists, and for 26 points in 38 games at Michigan State. So just somebody I was really, really impressed with. So, but yeah, I think overall though, really fun time. Poor goalies definitely kind of got held out to dry a lot, and that's just kind of part of the way it's going. It is. I really did like the penalty thing where they instead of going on a power play, they have like the modified penalty shot where you have whoever kind of drew the penalty is at center and everyone's at the other blue line, and then they blow the whistle and everyone sprints, and if you catch the guy who's trying to take the penalty shot, I really like that. It's really fun. It's kind of adds some intrigue and stuff to it, so I thought that was a kind of a nice wrinkle. I know they did it last year, and I think they've done it and they do it elsewhere, but I just thought it's a really, really fun wrinkle to kind of get because then the game just keeps going from there. So I thought it was kind of cool. It would be nice to see somebody score on one. The goalies kept kind of doing a good job there in those situations. But overall, I think the Sharks fans, like I said at the beginning, you have to feel like the vibes are immaculate right now. Just with the way that this team is eventually going to be coming together, because it's Celebrini and Smith and Musty and Halttunen, and Dickinson and Cagnoni, and like all these guys are just part of the future, and the future is what they keep saying, the future is teal, the future is teal. This team is going to be very good quicker than I think maybe people realize, especially if Smith and Celebrini are half as good as we think they're going to be, especially with the way this season's if that kind of the expectations for the Sharks this season, which are on the ground, right? If they come in and they start playing well right away and can keep it going, it's not going to be long before this team is starting to contend and going from the rebuild to the fun frisky stage. So again, I know it's July, prospect scrimmage with a bunch of guys, a bunch of kids, but you can't not be excited as a Sharks fan, and I'm super pumped up for the future. And as much as I'm looking forward to the offseason now and kind of enjoying the offseason before another grind of a season, there's also part of me who's ready for this season to get started, because I want to see these guys playing NHL games and playing them against real competition and playing them with other NHL players like William Eklund and Fabian Zetterlund and some of these other guys who are Tyler Toffoli. Like TTT is going to be huge for Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith and these other guys. So I'm cannot wait. So plenty more stuff coming along here at Locked On Sharks. So we'll be back next week as we start to kind of shift through and the wreckage that has been the off season. We'll start to kind of do deep dives onto the Sharks' newest prospects. Plenty of good stuff coming up here. So make sure you follow wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter at MyFryhole. Until Monday. Bye, friends.